What's going on? We are back with another episode of the Indy Investor Pod. I'm with my good buddy today, Clay Manship with Main State Property Group. What's going on, Clay?
Brett, how you doing, man? Happy to be here and appreciate you having me.
Yeah, definitely. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about the Manship brothers put together something really cool. I'm a sports guy. They're sports guys. And in spite of all the sports things going on and canceling the NCAA tournament, they have put together a Indianapolis neighborhood bracket challenge that's called Indy Best to Invest. And they actually took the Indianapolis neighborhoods, compared them against each other, and we're going to go over that bracket today to see who's on top and who's not. Let's get to the show. All right, so we're back with the Indy Investor Pod, and again, I'm Brett Snodgrass. I'm with Clay Manship, and Clay, you already introduced yourself, man. But I just think you guys are awesome. I don't know. I think I've gained so much respect for some of the things that you guys are doing in the past several months. I think you guys are hilarious. I think plus you give a lot of just amazing education out there. So I just want to thank you, man. You're really helping out the Indianapolis market and Indianapolis investors. You're putting on. You guys last year did a conference called the Symposium. I'm sorry if I didn't say that right.
No, you're good. Symposium, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, man. So thank you.
That's humbling, man. I appreciate it. It's cool talking to like-minded guys, and at the end of the day, it's just value driven. And I'm a twin, man. I like camaraderie. I like hanging out with like-minded people. So I appreciate that. It's humbling.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, well, today we're really just going to go over this neighborhood bracket challenge. You guys called it the Indy Best to Invest, and you basically took some of the top neighborhoods of Indianapolis, and I think that we're all trying to figure out where's the best places to invest in Indy and relative to now, because it's always changing, right? We always have different things coming in, different businesses coming in. Some areas were hot last year. Now they're not as hot. Some areas are gaining traction, and you really just kind of boil it down on this bracket. And if you guys are watching this on video, I'm actually going to share my screen of the actual bracket, so we can kind of come into that. But Clay, before we get into the bracket, tell me, like, where'd you guys go with this idea? I'm just kind of interested. Like, were you just sitting around on the porch one day saying, "Man, I want to watch some sports"? And
it's funny, man. We were actually having our quarterly rocks meeting, quarterly leadership meeting for the second quarter, and it was mid-March, so we were getting ready for the start of April, and it was me and a couple of the people in my group, and we were sitting there. And live during our meal, they had come on and said, "Hey, I was watching the Big East tournament. So the Big East tournament's canceled, March Madness canceled, and that's like the magnum opus of my year. Like I love March Madness, right? And so we said, that's going to take out a piece of what we do. So anyway, on the way back to the office, we pretty much said, we need to take what we do and aggregate that into a competitive environment that can allow others to vote and have that vote moving forward in the tournament. So we kind of took all of our passion that would normally go into cheering for our sports teams and channeled it into a cool thing for everyone to interact with.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. And again, I love how it was interactive. You guys got putting on Facebook, social media. People were voting for their favorite neighborhoods, and people were having different challenges going back and forth, a competitive environment. And it's just really cool. So I'm going to bring up the bracket right now if you guys are watching this on video. And actually, I was going to pull this picture up. This is I just got fun. So this is Evan, and he basically was just cheering on. This popped up, and I was just like, wow, this is really cool. He's cheering on his favorite team. He's got the tank top, got the guns out for the gun show.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was really neat. But I want to just pull up the bracket here. So so number one, you guys picked some of the top neighborhoods here in Indianapolis.
Uh-huh.
And so we got Fountain Square. You guys ranked them: Eagledale, Springdale, Garfield Park, Broad Ripple, Bean Creek, Kennedy King, Beach Grove, Irvington, Little Flower, Broad Ripple, Mapleton Fall Creek, Bates Hendricks, Lawrence, Speedway, and last but not least, Butler Tarkington. So when I think about these neighborhoods, number one, if you're watching this podcast, so I would really highly suggest, I'm always talking about studying your city, studying your market, studying your neighborhoods. And I think this is a great starting point, that if you don't know where to start, because the Manship brothers have pretty much have picked some of the top investor friendly neighborhoods in Indianapolis. When you say, Clay, like this is like, you guys just didn't pick these out of a hat. I mean, you are like, hey, these are what we sell, and this is where we find our deals. And is that kind of where you kind of pick some of these from?
Yeah, it's exactly right. I mean, for those who don't know anything about my group, we'll sell investment properties, but also conduct rehab on behalf of investors and kind of coach them through the process. And so, there's a reason you don't find a lot of Zionsvilles and Carmels of the world on this sheet. We wanted to pick where we do the most business, where we find the most traction with both local and out-of-state investors. So that's how we came to the 16 teams we have here.
Yeah, definitely. So we're not going to go through like every single neighborhood, guys, because it's only a 20-minute show and we don't have time for that. Obviously, this is also, we're recording this before they have crowned the championship. Today is April the 21st, and they're going to be crowning them in a couple of days. This is airing after that. So you guys check out Facebook. They'll be posting who is the championship between Bean Creek and South Broad Ripple, but this is coming actually before that. But I just want to kind of pinpoint some of the neighborhoods, and Clay, I really want to like get to know like what your opinion. I mean, this is kind of the opinion of a lot of investors, and you guys probably had some opinions in on this, but at the end of the show, I want to kind of pick your brain on, hey, like what do you enjoy investing in? But
bring it on, baby. I'll be, anyone that knows me knows I'm not shy of an opinion or two. So happy to share that.
Awesome, sounds good. So I just want to pick up Fountain Square, and so that they're facing off with Eagledale kind of in that first round here. And when I think of investment, I enjoy both of those areas for different reasons. They're a different matchup too. So can you describe just Fountain Square and Eagledale a little bit to our investors, and describe the differences in them?
Yeah, so Fountain Square, for those who don't know, is located on Indy's southeast side, really close to downtown. Fountain Square is the flashy sex appeal team. They have a lot of new construction, tons of commercial development, breweries, restaurants, and at the end of the day, it's walking distance to downtown. So I compare them to a one seed that's been mowing through everybody all year. While you take Eagledale, barely snuck into the tournament, but they're a lunch pail, hard hat type team, right? The rental grade, what you see is what you get, and they might just outwork you, right? I'm with you, Brett. I love these neighborhoods both for very different reasons. Eagledale, not necessarily a flip neighborhood at all. It's just a high quality, tenant-based, rental grade neighborhood. And that you'll find a lot of that in these matchups, is you'll just see a lot of juxtaposition between how the two teams and the two neighborhoods operate.
Yeah, definitely. So if I were to picture like basketball teams, actually, I would say Fountain Square was probably like the Fab Five Michigan days.
Yeah,
you
like
got some
Kentucky,
flashy,
something like that.
everybody's going to the NBA. Yeah, Kentucky
Right.
these days, they're there for like a year, and right, that's just how they are. In Eagledale, they're more like fundamentally sound. They don't have a lot of swings, solid rents. Most of them are ranches, and that's kind of what you get with Eagledale. So, and Eagledale's on the west side, which a lot of people, we don't hear a lot from the west side, which we've had a lot of questions about people investing in the west side near Speedway and Eagledale, and great place to invest. I love the west side there. So let's just talk about the matchup down here. So Bean Creek and Beech Grove, similar type of locations, right? And Bean Creek kind of won. And Bean Creek, I've heard a lot of just talk about Bean Creek, right? And this is probably a year ago or 2 years ago, you wouldn't hear much about this particular area. So let's talk about Bean Creek and Beech Grove real quick, and then talk about Bean Creek and why it's kind of passing along and running over people.
the cool thing about this tournament, Brett, is it's not my opinion, right? My opinion would be Bean Creek doesn't advance past Broad Ripple, right? I'm a local guy, Indianapolis born and bred, and I like Bean Creek, but I don't think it holds a candle to Broad Ripple. But it's not Clay's tournament, right? Bean Creek is getting a lot of attention, especially from out-of-state investors. There's a low entry price point and big time upside in equity. And so we're seeing a lot of high appraisals come back. A lot of that urban core influx of home buyers, of homeowners, owner occupants are moving into the Bean Creek neighborhood. So it's been fascinating to watch over the last, call it 18 months, maybe 24 months, just the change in that neighborhood. And again, Beech Grove is almost comparable to maybe a more upscale, if you will, Eagledale. I mean, Beech Grove has been around forever. What you see is what you get. It's very predictable. And again, if you're looking at Clay's opinion, Beech Grove mops the floor with Bean Creek, but it's interesting to see the investors. This is Indianapolis best to invest where you get to choose. So Bean Creek advances, and I'm excited to see what it does here after, knocked off Fountain Square, and so it's advancing to the championship game.
No, that's awesome. I guess I would describe Bean Creek, obviously, in this tournament as the Cinderella story. That
no question, man.
Everybody's starting to root for them. They're, have came out of nowhere. Neighborhood that wasn't talked about last year now is starting to get a lot of traction and a lot of media attention. So Bean Creek, and again, I love Bean Creek. We're starting to definitely see some high ARVs there, some flips going on. It still has some solid rents. So you got a little bit of a mixture, and you never know. It could be. We've seen Cinderella teams, eventually in a year or 2 years turn into
100%
the cream of the crop, right? And
well, if you just want to take, let's revisit 3, 4. I've been in real estate since 2014. You take out of the South region there at the bottom right, Bates Hendricks is a 1 seed. 5 years ago, Bates Hendricks was just kind of creeping into the map a little bit. You've been doing this longer than I have, Brett, so maybe you can speak more about what that was like. But it's been interesting to see. I'm curious to see. I do need to commit on your podcast, Brett, that we're going to be doing this every year. So I'm excited to see maybe the next couple of years where these teams end up.
Yeah, definitely. And then you can kind of revisit, where
right.
teams, some of these people, maybe Fountain Square might not even be on the map anymore. I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
But yeah, let's just kind of go and we can talk about Bates Hendricks and Butler Tarkington here. So I'll kind of describe Bates Hendricks is, again, that's one that wasn't really talked about much 5 years ago. There's been some companies that have went in that have created a name for Bates Hendricks, and it's kind of the brother or little brother, little sister of Fountain Square. The Fountain Square got a big name, and Bates Hendricks is just a kind of became popular, I think, by association.
I think that's fair, yeah.
And it was just kind of close as right there, and again, it's just an area that maybe I didn't quite understand, but that's because maybe I have a biased opinion, because I think that when you used to be in neighborhoods that you could pick up houses for $5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand or less, and now they're starting to be 200, 250 and higher, you're starting to ask yourself, I don't know. I guess I don't understand. Where did I miss this? But it has become a really popular area, and again, kind of a flashy area right now, and it kind of advanced. But Clay, why don't you talk a little bit about just the Butler Tarkington area? Again, always been pretty stable, but why don't you kind of go into that?
Yeah, I think that was an interesting matchup, looking at Bates Hendricks. For those who didn't watch the initial series, it's all on our Facebook page, and we had a videos talking at length about these matchups. But I picked Lawrence over Bates Hendricks, the 4 seed over the 1. Our old office was in Lawrence. It catches a bad rap because some of the bad intersections of the city are actually in the Lawrence Township area. But I like Lawrence as a rental area and just overall price point. But looking at Bates Hendricks and Butler Tarkington, we've flipped dozens of houses on behalf of clients in both these neighborhoods, and so it was a really interesting matchup. Butler Tarkington is the neighborhood that's I guess endorsed by or right next to Butler University's campus. And so the overflow from Butler University spills out into the neighborhood, which is really cool to see. You have students, you have owner occs, and you still have rentals. So I think it gives a great breadth of what you'd like to invest in, all within one neighborhood. I think that's really unique. And then you have Bates Hendricks. I think you nailed it in calling it the little brother of Fountain Square. It's just spillover. At the end of the day, Downtown Indianapolis, you look at a map, there's only so many places that downtown can sprawl into. And Bates Hendricks 3, 4, 5 years ago happened to be one of them. So I like Bates. I picked Butler Tarkington in this matchup and ended up getting it right just because of price point. I think a lot of investors are getting priced out of Bates Hendricks and they just want to buy Bates because it's in Bates Hendricks, right? I think the investment side of things might be a little bit richer in Butler Tarkington, and that's where.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds good. Awesome. Did I lose you there, Clay? Or are you still there?
No, you're still there.
Okay, awesome. Sounds good. Cut out a little bit, but so yeah, we got that matchup. Bates Hendricks, Butler Tarleton moves ahead of that, and again, I think it comes back to stability. And when we look at the sports teams, again, there's the flashy teams that recruit amazing players that come in for a year, but then the next year they're terrible, right? Because they've lost everybody. And I think you can really relate that with some of these neighborhoods that, in my opinion, which you can take with a grain of salt, but I think there's some neighborhoods that are going to be around for a couple of years, and then maybe you won't hear about them much. So when I think about some of these, it's just I think I see stable neighborhoods, and I think Butler Tarkington has some stability there, and Bates Hendricks I think would be the one that recruited some big players, and I don't know. We'll see.
It's really interesting the comparisons that can be made between a true March Madness in basketball to neighborhoods. I've found that it's like I think you're absolutely right. And if you're asking my opinion, which should be taken with 2 grains of salt, I like looking for something that can't go away. I like looking for anchors, and Butler University is not going anywhere. If you want to look at Bates and point to something that it shows it as a staple or an anchor for that neighborhood, what are you going to point to? It's not like Fountain Square where you've got the fountains, you've got all these restaurants and breweries. Bates is kind of free floating by itself. So I think Butler Tarkington was the right pick there, and I'm with you, man. I think it's a great comparison to compare it to some basketball teams.
Sounds good. Well, let's go into the other matchup here. We got Irvington versus South Broad Ripple. So looks like South Broad Ripple has gained a lot of traction, and just kind of talk about those 2 neighborhoods, about the stability of them, the history and things like that.
Yeah, Irvington is a really cool area, and again, it's another staple. Irvington is a historic district in the city of Indianapolis, meaning that the city of Indianapolis has designated it as a historic neighborhood that you actually it's not going anywhere. Again, it's an anchor, right? The neighborhood itself is an anchor, which is really unique. Southern Broad Ripple is, again, it's just overflow. It's spillover from the big muscly blue chip stock, if you will, of Broad Ripple. So when you're looking at demographics, Irvington is kind of an arts and crafts type district. Very walkable, right? So you got a super walkable area. You've got your breweries. You have a main commercial corridor that attracts a tenant base and an owner occupant base. Southern Broad Ripple, I think, maintains some of that. But again, I think what Southern Broad Ripple has is a spillover from Broad Ripple to the north, but also it's more affordable. I think the thing that Irvington might have going against it is that it's real easy to say something's in Irvington when it's not. Irvington's extremely block by block over on Indy's east side. Southern Broad Ripple is pretty well defined. So I thought that was a really interesting matchup. I would think that those demographic for the renter and the owner occ are almost identical for Southern Broad Ripple and Irvington. The price points that add up, and so I was interested to see that Sobro made its way through that game.
Yeah, definitely. No, that was definitely a good matchup. So let's just talk before we run out of time here. We got this matchup. It's between Bean Creek, championship game, Bean Creek versus South Broad Ripple. And do you have any predictions on who's going to come out on top? Who's going to get the big gold trophy? What's going to happen, man?
I need to go on record on a recorded podcast and let everyone know that we're actually going to hang a banner in our office for Indy Best to Invest 2020 and moving forward. So I need to also go on record and say I'm a Southern Broad Ripple homer. Our office is in Sobro, so I'm a huge fan. But I've picked against Bean Creek every step of the way, and they have proven me wrong every step of the way. So I think at the risk of jinxing myself, I think if I had to put something on it, I think we're learning that investors are chasing yield. They're chasing a low price point, high upside. And I think I'd have to pick Bean Creek to be crowned the champion.
Mm. Awesome. Sounds good. Well, we shall see, guys, who's going to be crowned champion. But I think they're exactly right. And everyone has their opinion on different things. And I probably have my opinion on, I like high upside. I like if you can get in a little bit cheaper, rent out a property for, 2, 3, 5 years, and then it appreciates like crazy without you having to do anything. I know that's not how you're supposed to look at cash flow these days, but I know a lot of investors definitely do that. So thanks for putting this together. If you guys want to see the videos, I know Clay and Evan have put together some really amazing videos. They're short, but it really kind of reflects the ESPN, bracket challenges when, the commentators are really going in on these neighborhoods. So it's very entertaining, educational. So go check those out. And those are, where are those at, Clay, besides Facebook?
Yeah, so you'll find them on Facebook, Mainstay Property Group's Facebook page, as well as our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Mainstay Property Group.
Sounds good. So you guys can check those out there. But Clay, I want to just to kind of pick your brain one last nugget here before, but you guys are really moving and shaking, and you're really dialing in, which I think doing these videos and doing these educational things that you guys are doing probably really helps you. I think really helps me. If I can teach something, I learn so much, right?
Yeah.
So kind of diving into that, what are some of the areas that you like? I want to see, Mainstay Property Group. I know you guys have rentals and you do flips and you do work with a lot of investors yourself, but out of all these, what are some of the neighborhoods that you guys are really enjoying right now?
Sure. Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. I love it, man. My mom's a teacher, and it's in the genes, I guess. But anyone who knows me knows I'm a pretty risk adverse guy. I'm not going to go plop $100 on the roulette table. I'm going to put 5, right? So my investing strategy is relatively risk adverse. You can see behind me, I live in Heron Morton. I'm a huge fan of downtown urban core. I just want the safer side of it, right? So I want kind of the established neighborhoods already. All of my personal rentals are either downtown in the cream of the crop neighborhoods, or they're in Fishers, Castleton type area. So that's where my personal money is at. When you look at neighborhoods that I've found that my clients really like and our folks like to work with, it's in entry-level price point neighborhoods. Southern Broad Ripple is a shining example, and I think that's maybe why it's made its way this far. But Beach Grove is another one. So again, I'm looking at this bracket, seeing a lot of those type teams. So those are a few that I think stand out amongst the others.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, again, if you're listening to this podcast, everyone kind of has their opinion. All of those neighborhoods you can win in. And that's what I love about Indianapolis is you can,
100%.
If you have a strategy that any neighborhood you can win in. Some people really like the D neighborhoods. And if you like risk and very low entry points and, you can have more turnover, but if you know what you're doing, you can make some good money. And other people like the stability downtown Indianapolis neighborhoods. And some people go on the outskirts and visit Hamilton County and get to cookie cutter neighborhoods, and you can win at those. So that's what I love about Indy. Compared to the rest of the country, the price points are all very entry level, and you can make money whether you're flipping, chasing after the flashy neighborhoods, going after the staples, renting properties. I think it's just awesome. So thanks again for joining us on the Indy Investor Pod, Clay. Wish you guys so much success, man. And let us know how we can help you. And again, Clay's with Mainstay Property Groups. If you're interested in reaching out to them, I know they're willing to help. They got a lot of educational materials on a lot of stuff, right? That I've been kind of watching. I've been learning a lot from you guys. So.
Appreciate it, man. That's humbling as always. And we love being here, man. Thanks for having us again.
Sounds good. We'll see you soon.